Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Adjusting his collar, Larry took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. The chimes echoed inside, followed by the sound of footsteps approaching. The door swung open, revealing a tall blonde woman with a warm smile. "You must be Larry," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Jessica, the house president. Come on in." Larry stepped inside, taking in the elegant decor of the foyer. Plush carpets muffled his footsteps as Jessica led him to a small office off the main hallway. "So, I've looked over your application," Jessica began, settling into a high-backed chair behind the desk. "I have to say, we were intrigued by your unique qualifications." Larry felt his cheeks flush. "I hope that's not a problem," he mumbled. Jessica waved her hand dismissively. "Not at all. In fact, it's one of the reasons we decided to hire you. We believe in embracing diversity and challenging societal norms here at Gamma Phi Beta." Relief washed over Larry as Jessica continued outlining his duties. He'd be responsible for general cleaning, laundry, and occasional odd jobs around the house. As she spoke, Larry's eyes were drawn to her perfectly manicured nails, painted a shimmering coral. Jessica noticed his gaze and smiled. "Do you like them?" "One of our sisters, Megan, is studying cosmetology. She does all our nails." "They're beautiful," Larry admitted. "Well, who knows? Maybe she'll do yours sometime," Jessica said with a wink. "Now let's get you started on your first day." The next few hours flew by in a whirlwind of dusting, vacuuming, and learning the layout of the sprawling house. By mid-afternoon, Larry found himself in the communal bathroom, scrubbing the tiles with a vigor born of nervous energy. "Oh, there you are." Larry looked up to see a petite brunette standing in the doorway, her arms laden with bottles of nail polish. "I'm Megan," she said, setting her load down on the counter. "Jessica mentioned you might be interested in a manicure." Larry hesitated, his sponge dripping suds onto the floor. Megan's eyes twinkled. "Come on, it'll be fun. Besides, your hands could use some TLC after all that cleaning." Before he knew it, Larry found himself perched on the edge of the bathtub, his hands soaking in a bowl of warm, fragrant water. Megan chatted happily as she trimmed and filed his nails, occasionally asking his opinion on colors. "How about this one?" she asked, holding up a bottle of deep burgundy polish. "It would look great with your skin tone." Larry nodded, unable to keep the smile from his face. As Megan carefully applied the polish, more girls filtered into the bathroom, curious about the new housekeeper. "Oh, love that color," exclaimed a redhead leaning against the doorframe. "I'm Brittany, by the way. Nice to meet you, Larry." Soon, the bathroom was filled with chatter and laughter as the sisters gathered around, offering opinions on nail art and sharing gossip. Larry found himself relaxing, swept up in the camaraderie. As Megan put the finishing touches on his nails, another girl, Ashley, he'd learned, piped up. "Hey, we should do his toes, too." There was a chorus of agreement, and before Larry could protest, he found himself with his feet in a basin of warm water, surrounded by eager faces. "What color for the toes?" Megan asked, holding up an array of bottles. "Ooh, how about that sparkly purple?" suggested Brittany. Larry nodded, feeling a thrill of excitement as Megan began applying the shimmering polish to his toenails. The girls continued chatting, drawing him into their conversations about classes, boys, and the upcoming mixer with the Phi Delta Theta fraternity. As the afternoon wore on, Larry found himself opening up more, sharing stories and laughing along with the sisters. When Megan finally declared his pedicure complete, he couldn't help but admire the way his toes sparkled in the bathroom light. "Thank you," he said softly, wiggling his toes. "They look amazing." Jessica appeared in the doorway, taking in the scene with an approving nod. "Well, it looks like you're fitting right in, Larry. Listen, I've been thinking, how would you feel about a slight change to your uniform?" Larry looked down at his plain t-shirt and jeans. "What did you have in mind?" An hour later, Larry stood before the full-length mirror in Jessica's room, hardly recognizing himself. Gone were the baggy jeans and oversized shirt, replaced by a white blouse and a pleated skirt that fell just above his knees. His freshly painted toes peeked out from a pair of delicate sandals. "Now that's more like it," Jessica said, adjusting the collar of his blouse. "How does it feel?" Larry ran his hands over the soft fabric of the skirt, marveling at the way it swished around his legs. "It feels right," he admitted. The next 2 days passed in a blur of cleaning, chatting, and slowly integrating into the sorority's daily life. Larry found himself looking forward to work each morning, eagerly slipping into his new uniform and joining the girls for breakfast before starting his chores. On the morning of his 3rd day, Jessica called him into her office once again. This time, the room was filled with several other sisters, all wearing serious expressions. "Larry," Jessica began, her tone formal, "we've been impressed with your work ethic and your willingness to embrace our sorority's values. We'd like to offer you a unique opportunity." Larry's heart raced as Jessica continued. "We'd like to invite you to pledge Gamma Phi Beta as our first stepsister. This would involve fully embracing life as one of our sisters, dressing, acting, and living as a part of our sorority. It's not a decision to be made lightly, but we believe you'd be a wonderful addition to our sisterhood." The room fell silent as Larry processed the offer. His mind whirled with possibilities, fears, and excitement. After what felt like an eternity, he looked up at the expectant faces around him. I'd be honored," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The room erupted in cheers and hugs. As the excitement died down, Megan stepped forward, a gleam in her eye. "Well then, sister, let's get you ready for your big transformation." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Larry found himself whisked from room to room, surrounded by a flurry of excited sisters eager to help with his makeover. In the bathroom, Brittany carefully shaved his legs, explaining the finer points of achieving silky, smooth skin. "Trust me," she said, applying lotion to his freshly shaved calves. "Once you start, you won't want to stop. There's nothing quite like the feeling of sliding into bed with smooth legs." Meanwhile, Ashley worked on his hair, trimming and styling it into a more feminine cut. "You've got great bone structure," she commented, running her fingers through his locks. "We can really work with this." Megan, true to her expertise, took charge of his makeup. She explained each step as she went, from applying foundation to mastering the perfect winged eyeliner. "The key is practice," she said, carefully applying mascara to his lashes. "Don't get discouraged if it's not perfect at first. We'll have plenty of time for beauty sessions." As the transformation progressed, Larry felt a sense of peace wash over him. Each swipe of makeup, each soft touch of fabric against his skin, felt like coming home to a part of himself he'd long kept hidden. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the girls stepped back to admire their handiwork. Larry turned to face the mirror, and his breath caught in his throat. The person staring back at him was simultaneously familiar and completely new. His features, softened by Megan's expert makeup application, looked delicate and feminine. The light catching on his glossy lips and shimmering eyeshadow made his face glow. His hair, now styled in soft waves, framed his face perfectly. Larry's gaze traveled down to take in the rest of his appearance. He wore a pale blue sundress that hugged his waist before flaring out into a playful skirt. A delicate silver necklace adorned his neck, and his newly manicured fingers were adorned with a few subtle rings. "Well?" Jessica asked, coming to stand beside him. "What do you think?" Larry turned to face the group of smiling girls, feeling tears prick at the corners of his eyes. I don't know what to say. Thank you all so much." Brittany stepped forward, enveloping him in a warm hug. "Welcome to the sisterhood, Larry. Or should we say Lauren?" The name sent a thrill through him. Lauren. It felt right, like slipping on a favorite sweater. "Lauren, No, she," repeated, testing out the name. "I like it." The room erupted in cheers and hugs once again. As the excitement died down, Jessica clapped her hands to get everyone's attention. "All right, ladies, it's time to introduce our newest pledge to the rest of the house. Lauren, are you ready?" Taking a deep breath, Lauren nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." The group made their way downstairs, where the rest of the sorority had gathered in the living room. As they entered, a hush fell over the crowd, all eyes turning to Lauren. Jessica stepped forward, addressing the room. "Sisters of Gamma Phi Beta, I'm thrilled to introduce our newest pledge, Lauren. As you can see, Lauren's journey to our sisterhood is unique, but her dedication to our values and her eagerness to embrace our way of life make her a perfect addition to our family." There was a moment of silence, and Lauren felt her heart pounding in her chest. Then, slowly, smiles began to spread across the faces in the crowd. One by one, girls stepped forward to introduce themselves and offer words of welcome. "Your makeup is flawless," gushed a blonde named Tiffany. "You'll have to show me how you did that eyeliner." "Love the dress," commented another sister, running her hand over the soft fabric. "We should totally go shopping together sometime." As Lauren made her way through the crowd, shaking hands and accepting hugs, she felt a warmth spreading through her chest. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen and accepted for who she was. The rest of the day passed in a blur of introductions, orientation sessions, and bonding activities. Lauren learned about the sorority's history, its philanthropic efforts, and the various traditions she'd be expected to uphold as a sister. As evening fell, the house began to buzz with excitement for an impromptu welcome party. Music filled the air as sisters flitted about, setting out snacks and hanging decorations. Lauren found herself in the kitchen, helping to prepare a batch of virgin mojitos under the guidance of a sister named Rachel. "So," Rachel said, muddling mint leaves in a glass, "how are you feeling about all of this? It must be a lot to take in." Lauren paused, considering the question. "It's overwhelming," she admitted, "but in the best possible way. I've never felt so accepted, so free to be myself." Rachel smiled, squeezing Lauren's arm. "That's what sisterhood is all about. We're here to support each other no matter what." As they carried trays of drinks into the living room, Lauren was struck by the sight of her new sisters laughing and dancing. She felt a tap on her shoulder and turned to see Megan holding out a hand. "Come on, Pledge," Megan said with a grin. "Time to show us your moves." Lauren hesitated for a moment, suddenly self-conscious. But as she looked around at the encouraging faces of her new sisters, she felt her anxiety melt away. Taking Megan's hand, she allowed herself to be pulled into the center of the room. As she swayed to the music, feeling the swish of her skirt around her legs and the warmth of her sister's presence, Lauren felt a sense of belonging wash over her. This was where she was meant to be. The party continued late into the night, filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt conversations. Lauren found herself opening up more and more, sharing stories of her journey to self-discovery and listening intently to her sister's own experiences. As the night wound down, Lauren found herself on the back porch, gazing up at the stars. Jessica joined her, leaning against the railing. "So, Lauren," she said softly, "how are you feeling about your decision?" Lauren turned to face her, a smile playing on her lips. "Honestly, I've never felt more like myself. It's like I've been wearing a mask my whole life, and I've finally taken it off." Jessica nodded, her eyes shining with understanding. "That's beautiful, Lauren. And I want you to know we're all here for you. This journey won't always be easy, but you've got a whole sisterhood behind you now." Lauren felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." As they stood there in comfortable silence, Lauren reflected on the whirlwind of the past few days. From nervous job applicant to sorority pledge, she'd undergone a transformation that went far beyond just clothes and makeup. She'd found a place where she could be her true self, surrounded by sisters who accepted and celebrated her. The road ahead would undoubtedly have its challenges. There would be difficult conversations with family and friends, adjustments to navigate, and a whole new world to learn. But as Lauren looked out at the twinkling stars, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. Whatever came next, she knew she wasn't facing it alone. She had found her home, her family, her sisterhood. And with their support, she was ready to embrace her true self and step confidently into her new life as Lauren, sister of Gamma Phi Beta. As the last of the partygoers drifted off to bed, Lauren made her way to her new room, a cozy space she'd be sharing with Brittany for the duration of her pledge period. The walls were adorned with photos of smiling sisters and inspirational quotes, and a vase of fresh flowers sat on the desk. Brittany was already in her pajamas, sitting cross-legged on her bed. She patted the space next to her, inviting Lauren to join her. "So, roomie," she said with a grin, "ready for your first official night as a Gamma Phi Beta pledge?" Lauren sat down, smoothing her skirt over her knees. "I think so," she replied, a mix of excitement and nervousness in her voice. "It still feels a bit surreal, you know?" Brittany nodded understandingly. "I remember feeling the same way when I first pledged. It's a big change, but you'll settle in before you know it." She reached over to her nightstand and pulled out a small gift bag. "Here, I got you a little welcome present." Lauren accepted the bag with a surprised smile. Inside, she found a delicate charm bracelet with the sorority's letters dangling from it. "Oh, Brittany," she breathed, running her fingers over the charms. "It's beautiful. Thank you so much." Brittany helped her fasten the bracelet around her wrist. "There," she said, admiring how it caught the light. "Now you're officially one of us." As they chatted into the night, sharing stories and getting to know each other better, Lauren felt the last of her apprehension melt away. This was more than just a new living situation or a change of wardrobe. It was the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one filled with sisterhood, self-discovery, and endless possibilities. The next morning, Lauren woke to the sound of bustling activity in the hallway. For a moment, she felt disoriented, the unfamiliar surroundings throwing her off. Then the events of the previous day came rushing back, and a smile spread across her face. Brittany was already up, rummaging through her closet. "Rise and shine, sleepyhead," she called over her shoulder. "First day of classes as a Gamma Phi Beta pledge." Lauren sat up, stretching. "What should I wear?" she asked, suddenly realizing she hadn't thought about this aspect of her new life. Brittany turned, a thoughtful expression on her face. Let's see what we've got." She began pulling items from Lauren's side of the closet, which the sisters had stocked with a starter wardrobe the day before. After some deliberation, they settled on a floral print skirt, a soft cream blouse, and a pair of comfortable flats. As Lauren dressed, Brittany offered tips on how to sit and move in a skirt, things Lauren had never had to consider before. "Remember," Brittany said as she helped Lauren apply her makeup, "confidence is key. You belong here just as much as anyone else on campus." With a final check in the mirror and an encouraging hug from Brittany, Lauren set off for her first class. The campus buzzed with the energy of a new semester, students hurrying in all directions. As she walked, Lauren was acutely aware of the differences in her appearance and movements. The swish of her skirt against her legs, the click of her flats on the pavement, the way the breeze played with her styled hair, it was all new and exhilarating. She caught a few curious glances from other students, but for the most part, she blended into the crowd. It was a liberating feeling, being seen as just another girl on her way to class. Lauren's first class of the day was Introduction to Psychology. As she entered the lecture hall, she scanned the room for a familiar face. To her relief, she spotted Ashley waving from a row near the middle. "Saved you a seat," Ashley whispered as Lauren slid in next to her. "How are you feeling?" Lauren took a deep breath, arranging her skirt as she sat. "Nervous," she admitted, "but excited too." Ashley gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "You've got this. Just remember, you're not alone." As the professor began the lecture, Lauren found herself relaxing. She focused on taking notes, asking questions, and participating in discussions just as she always had. The only difference was the growing sense of comfort and authenticity she felt in her new presentation. The rest of the day followed a similar pattern. In each class, Lauren found at least one of her sisters there to offer support and companionship. By the time her last lecture ended, she felt a sense of accomplishment washing over her. Heading back to the sorority house, Lauren's step was lighter, her confidence bolstered by the success of her first day. As she walked up the path to the front door, she saw Jessica sitting on the porch, enjoying the late afternoon sun. "There's our newest sister," Jessica called out with a smile. "How was your first day?" Lauren joined her on the porch swing, letting out a contented sigh. "It was amazing," she said. "I keep waiting for it to feel weird or wrong, but it just doesn't. It feels right?" Jessica nodded, a knowing look in her eyes. "That's because this is who you're meant to be, Lauren. You're finally living as your authentic self." As they sat there, watching the sun begin to set, Lauren felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over her. Just a few days ago, she had been living a life that felt incomplete, always hiding a part of herself. Now, she was embarking on a journey of self-discovery and acceptance, surrounded by a supportive sisterhood. The road ahead would undoubtedly have its challenges. There would be difficult conversations with family and friends, moments of self-doubt, and obstacles to overcome. But as Lauren sat there, feeling the warmth of the fading sun and the comfort of her new sister's presence, she knew she was ready to face whatever came her way. This was more than just a new chapter in her life. It was the beginning of her true story, one she would write on her own terms, surrounded by the love and support of her newfound sisters. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the campus, Lauren stood up, smoothing her skirt. "I should probably start on my homework," she said, a hint of reluctance in her voice. Jessica nodded, standing as well. "That's the spirit. Remember, being a sister isn't just about the fun stuff. It's about striving for excellence in all areas of your life." Lauren headed inside, the house buzzing with the familiar sounds of dinner preparation and girls chatting about their day. She made her way to the study room, a cozy space filled with desks, comfortable chairs, and well-stocked bookshelves. Several of her sisters were already there, books spread out before them. Megan looked up as Lauren entered, patting the seat next to her. "Join us," she said. "We're having a bit of a study group for Professor Thompson's lit class." Grateful for the company, Lauren settled in, pulling out her notebook and textbook. As they worked, discussing the assigned readings and helping each other with difficult concepts, Lauren felt a sense of camaraderie she'd never experienced before in her academic life. Time flew by, and before she knew it, Ashley was poking her head into the room. "Dinner's ready, ladies." The group made their way to the dining room, where the large table was set for a family-style meal. The aroma of home-cooked food filled the air, making Lauren's stomach growl. As they settled in, passing dishes and chatting about their days, Lauren was struck by the warmth and intimacy of the scene. This wasn't just a group of college students sharing a meal. It was a family. After dinner, as some girls cleared the table and others settled in for more studying or relaxation, Lauren found herself drawn to the living room. A few sisters were gathered around the television, engrossed in a reality show. "Lauren?" Brittany called, patting the spot next to her on the couch. "Come join us. We're watching The Bachelor." Lauren hesitated for a moment, then shrugged and joined them. She'd never been much for reality TV before, but as she settled in, she found herself getting caught up in the drama and the girls' running commentary. As the evening wore on, Lauren felt herself relaxing more and more. The initial nervousness of navigating this new world was fading, replaced by a growing sense of belonging. Later that night, as she prepared for bed, Lauren caught sight of herself in the mirror. Her makeup was slightly smudged from the long day, her hair a bit mussed, but her eyes were bright with happiness. Brittany came up behind her, wrapping her in a hug. "You did it," she said softly. "Your first full day as Lauren? How does it feel?" Lauren turned, returning the hug. "It feels right," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Like I've finally found where I belong." As she crawled into bed that night, the events of the day replaying in her mind, Lauren felt a deep sense of peace settle over her. She knew there would be challenges ahead, explaining her transformation to her family, navigating relationships, and continuing to explore and define her identity. But for now, in this moment, she was exactly where she needed to be, surrounded by sisters who accepted her, supported her, and celebrated her true self. As sleep began to claim her, Lauren's last thoughts were of gratitude. Gratitude for the chance to live authentically, for the sisters who had welcomed her with open arms, and for the journey of self-discovery that lay ahead. In the days and weeks that followed, Lauren settled into her new life with a sense of joy and purpose she'd never experienced before. Each day brought new experiences, challenges, and moments of growth. She threw herself into her studies with renewed vigor, finding that embracing her true self had unlocked a wellspring of confidence and focus. Her professors noticed the change, commenting on her increased participation and the quality of her work. Lauren also dove headfirst into sorority life, participating enthusiastically in every event and tradition. She helped organize fundraisers for their chosen charities, stayed up late decorating for mixers with fraternities, and even found herself taking a leadership role in planning the upcoming alumni weekend. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were moments of doubt and difficulty. The first time she ran into a classmate from her old life, she felt a moment of panic. But with her sisters by her side, she found the courage to hold her head high and introduce herself as Lauren. There were also practical challenges. Learning to walk confidently in heels took practice, and mastering the art of applying makeup quickly for early morning classes was a skill she had to develop. But her sisters were always there with advice, encouragement, and the occasional late-night emergency fashion consultation. One particularly memorable moment came during a sorority formal. As Lauren descended the stairs in a shimmering evening gown, she caught sight of her reflection in the foyer mirror. For a moment, she barely recognized herself. Gone was the awkward, unsure person she'd been just months ago. In her place stood a confident, radiant young woman, ready to take on the world. As the semester progressed, Lauren found herself forming deep, meaningful friendships with her sisters. Late-night study sessions turned into heart-to-heart conversations. Weekend brunches became opportunities for sharing dreams and fears. She learned the power of sisterhood, of having a network of women who supported each other unconditionally. Of course, there were still hurdles to overcome. The biggest of these was telling her family about her transformation. With the support and advice of her sisters, particularly Jessica, who had experience in counseling, Lauren crafted a heartfelt letter to her parents explaining her journey. The days after sending the letter were tense, filled with anxiety and what-ifs. But when her mother finally called, her voice choked with emotion but full of love, Lauren felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It wouldn't be an easy road, but knowing she had her family's support meant everything. As the semester drew to a close, Lauren found herself reflecting on the incredible journey she'd undertaken. From that first nervous day as a housekeeper to now, a fully integrated member of the sorority, she had undergone a transformation that was more than skin deep. On the last night before winter break, the sisters gathered for a special ceremony. One by one, they stood to share what the sorority had meant to them that semester. When it was Lauren's turn, she took a deep breath, looking around at the faces of the women who had become her family. "When I first came to this house," she began, her voice wavering slightly, "I was lost. I knew who I wanted to be, but I didn't know how to become that person. You all gave me that chance. You saw me, the real me, and you embraced me without hesitation. You've taught me what it means to be a sister, a friend, and most importantly, what it means to be true to myself." As she spoke, Lauren saw tears in the eyes of many of her sisters, mirroring her own emotions. "I stand here today not just as Lauren, but as a proud member of Gamma Phi Beta.
You've given me a home, a family, and the courage to be who I've always known I was meant to be. For that, I will be forever grateful." The room erupted in applause and hugs as Lauren finished speaking. As she was enveloped in the warm embrace of her sisters, Lauren knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she would face them with confidence, grace, and the unwavering support of her sorority. This was more than just a new chapter in her life. It was the beginning of her true story, one she would continue to write, surrounded by the love and sisterhood she had found in Gamma Phi Beta. As the night wound down and the sisters began to disperse, preparing for their journeys home for the holidays, Lauren found herself lingering in the common room. She ran her fingers over the sorority crest hanging on the wall, marveling at how much her life had changed in just one semester. Brittany approached, wrapping an arm around Lauren's shoulders. "Penny, for your thoughts?" Lauren leaned into her friend's embrace. "Just thinking about how different everything is now. How different I am." Brittany nodded, understanding in her eyes. "You've come so far, Lauren. We're all so proud of you." As they stood there, the room slowly emptying as girls said their goodbyes and headed off to bed, Lauren felt a surge of emotion. "I'm going to miss this place over break," she admitted. "Miss all of you." "Hey," Brittany said, turning to face her. "We're sisters now. That doesn't end just because we're not under the same roof. You've got a whole network of support now, all across the country." Lauren smiled, feeling the truth of those words. She wasn't just going home for the holidays. She was taking a piece of her new family with her. The next morning was a flurry of activity as the sisters prepared to depart for winter break. Amid the chaos of last-minute packing and tearful goodbyes, Lauren found moments of quiet reflection. As she zipped up her suitcase, now filled with a wardrobe that truly reflected who she was, she caught sight of herself in the mirror. The person looking back at her was so different from the one who had nervously approached this house just a few months ago. Her hair, now grown out a bit and styled in soft waves, framed a face that radiated confidence. The clothes she wore, a comfortable yet stylish travel outfit, felt like a second skin now. But it was her eyes that showed the most change. They sparkled with a joy and self-assurance that had been missing before. A knock at the door pulled her from her reverie. It was Jessica coming to say a final goodbye before heading out. "All packed?" Jessica asked, leaning against the doorframe. Lauren nodded, gesturing to her suitcase. "I think so. It's weird packing to go home when this feels more like home now." Jessica's expression softened with understanding. "That's the beauty of sisterhood, Lauren. You'll always have a home here, but now you get to take that sense of belonging with you wherever you go." They shared a warm hug, and as they pulled apart, Jessica pressed something into Lauren's hand. It was a small photo album. "A little something to remind you of your first semester as a Gamma Phi Beta," Jessica explained, "and to show your family the amazing woman you've become." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.